This is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now today you're going to love this. You're going to absolutely love this one. Now I've anticipated this happening in some previous videos I did last year about UFOs on Mars. And what I've done here today, I found this yesterday. This is the new one here. Right? Let's get it center screen so you can see it. Let's go a bit larger. Here it is. Now, look at that. It's in Gale Crater, near the Curiosity Rover, and it's flown in quite close. Not as close as some of the others, but close enough to see the shape in detail. And this is how it appears. It's in bright mode, or light mode as I call it. This is a negative of it, so you can see the shape. It's very similar in shape to some that I've shown before. The body here, with a tail, and what seem to be wings here, and a nose here. But this one, unlike the others, has an aerial sticking up here. You can see this long thing sticking up and not sticking down. Now, so that got me thinking, right, is this the same one that I showed last year, a couple of times last year? I thought it could be the same UFO, right, or drone, or whatever you want to call this thing. It actually looks a bit like a satellite, but it's not a satellite because this is low down in just probably about 100 feet up or so, maybe 60 or 80. And I'll show you the raw image here. This is the raw image, right? Now, this is Mount Sharp just down here, right? The lower slopes of Mount Sharp with one of the buttes in front of it at the bottom where the rover is. The rover's down the bottom here, below this, looking sort of across and up a little bit. This is the navigation camera, right navigation camera. Now, with the Curiosity Rover, if you want to find UFOs, they're pretty much all of them are either in the nav cam right or possibly in one of the other cameras. This has not been altered in any way, right? It's just been enlarged and then put on this composite here that I've done for you on my Gigapan site. There's the magnifier. You can see it's pretty small, but there is detail to be seen. If we go in a bit closer, you can see quite sharp detail, which says to me it's not that far away and it's not that big. If this was like much further away, this would be much more blurry and you wouldn't see that sort of fine line sticking up and this sort of detail here, okay? So it's not as close as some of the others, but what I've done here is I've put some of the others that I've found recently, not all of them, just a few of them, the better ones, in the same composite image so you can compare them back to back, and it's very similar to this one. Now, this is the one I just found this morning, this one here. Sol 4131, okay? Nav R, right? Nav cam right. Now, last year, I published this one. Now, I called this the Interceptor drone, this top one here. It has a very similar shape, but the aerial, or whatever it is, arm or aerial thing is sticking down from below, okay? If I go in a bit closer, I'll show you with the magnifier. There's the actual object and there's the aerial thing hanging down. It doesn't show very well in the raw image there. So I put a negative of it here in the clip so you can see that there's something hanging down, like an aerial or arm or some kind of device hanging down, right? Now, this is also, I think, the same one as this one. Now, this is one I spotted earlier, like 10 days earlier, but the fact that the image is older, it's about a year before, okay? So we've got, this was, I think, was taken in 2022. This one image was taken in 2023. I called this one the Eucharist drone, but I think it's the same thing from a different angle because we have a similar shaped body with little wings sticking out. This is from the back, I think. And we have that object or aerial or arm sticking down below it here, like it does on this one. This is from the side. This is from the right side. The nose is here, I think, this pointy bit, maybe. We got a very rectangular part sticking out here from this angle, but from the back, it kind of looks like a square, almost square. It's kind of a rounded square, right? This thing hanging down. And the new one, I think, is also a side angle, but a full side angle. So it's not angled at 45 degrees or anything like that. This is side on. So we're seeing the full length of it, but it's upside down. Or the other two are upside down and this is up the right way. Now, the point is, whatever this thing is, it seems to be the same thing, right? Because we have an interesting body shape. On this one, you can really see that these are, I think, are the wings here, these two wide parts. This, I think, may be the nose, and this may be the tail, but it may be going this way or that, I don't know. It's hovering because there isn't that much blur. If anything, I would say that it's stationary, this one, because there's no, I mean, it's blurred, obviously, but there's no real blur behind it or in front of it. Every day I check these images. Every day I go through the page like this. This is the latest page. This is Sol 4131, right? I just typed it in there and I've selected all the engineering cameras because that's where generally the UFOs show up. Because these are always looking at the skyline. They're always looking at the horizon every day. They take dozens of pictures every day. Both the rovers do. Okay? Now, why would they keep doing that? What are they expecting to see? They must know there is stuff there. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep taking all these photos of the skyline constantly every day. Dozens and dozens every day. Right? Now, both rovers do this. So they're obviously expecting to see something, right? Because they keep taking shots of the same bit of the sky and horizon, above and around Mount Sharp, okay? So the rover is actually in a crater, which is 3.5 kilometers down below what would have been sea level, or actual ground level on Mars, right? So these drones are going down below the ground into this crater, down into it, and buzzing the rover. And they've shown, now this is one of them here, right? This is the actual page. This is 3406, right? This is the one with the aerial hanging down, side view, right? This was taken in 2022, okay? This one is, I think, the same object. This was taken a year later, 2023, right? I'll show you the magnifier. It doesn't show very big, but there it is, right? This also has an aerial hanging down. This is the back view of it. Now, we have the new one, this one, but it's in bright mode, I think possibly because it's higher up. It seems to be much higher and a bit further away. There it is. I'll show you with the magnifier. And this was taken literally like a couple of days ago, right? So this is the latest, very latest one, right? About a year after the last one, which was a year after the other one. Now, I'm not saying this thing only appears once a year. I think it appears a lot, and I've shown loads of images of UFOs, which especially I did a load last year. I did a whole series of UFO videos. I did about 20 or 25. And lots of UFOs can be seen in this area. Every few, I would say at least once a week, you'd see one or two, right? But they're usually tiny little specks and you can't see any detail. They're too far away and they're up in the distance, right above the mountain, or in the right at the back towards the edge of the crater, which is like 40, 50 miles away, right? And some of them are massive, like they look like bombers, I've shown. Some of them are close and small, some are rod shaped, some are these complex shapes. Here's one of the videos. This is the first time I spotted this one. This is the Eucharist drone, I called it. Now, I think this is the same as this one, the Interceptor drone, right? Now, on this Gigapan, that is this one and this one, right? This one I called the Interceptor drone, and this one I called the Eucharist drone. But I actually think they're the same drone, or the same UFO, okay? This is why I put them together on this image, and why I put this image on this composite that I've done today of all these other images and the new one, right? So you can compare them back to back and look at the shapes, right? We've got aerial hanging down on this one, we've got or arm, we've got a same on this one, but it's different angle, and then we have the same deal here. It's better to look at the darker one here, I think. But the aerial, the thin aerial or arm is sticking up, not down, which means this is flipped up the other way. So this says to me that this interceptor drone stroke UFO has completely come to terms with gravity and has probably quite an advanced propulsion system, which means it can just flip up and down, upside down, sideways, and any orientation in the sky above Gale Crater without any problem. In other words, it can hover in any kind of position, whether it's upside down or sideways or whatever. That says to me they're probably using some kind of electromagnetic propulsion or lift system to keep this thing in the air, okay? Not some conventional jet or helicopter or anything like that, okay? So that's what it suggests, because if it can hover upside down and in any position, like it seems to be here. See, this one doesn't show that much motion blur either, so I think this one's hovering. So it's flying in close to the rover, within sort of a couple of 100 feet or a few 100 feet, right? And I think it's intercepting the radio signals from the rover as they're sent to the satellite and then beamed to Earth. And then we get the images and all the information, right? So here it is up close. Now this has been contrast added here, and this one is actually a negative, right? So you can see the shape of it here. This is what it actually looks like here. It's been flipped. This is the actual image here on the left, and a negative here top right, okay? I always do this with negatives because often when they're in bright mode, it seems to me that when they're higher up in the atmosphere or higher up above the rover, I think when they're more than sort of like a few 100 feet, they go into light mode. And when they come down low, they go into dark mode. But I could be wrong. It may be something to do with the propulsion system, whether they're hovering or moving or whatever. I don't know. Or directional thing. But they often show up black and they often show up bright white like this in light mode. And the only explanation I can think of is that it's perhaps a directional thing or a height thing. I don't know. Okay, now here's the composite. Now this is the raw image clip at the bottom, showing the top of that butte there, just there. And then we have that same clip again. Here is the actual page. Sol 4131, right navigation camera. This is an image clip from the NASA website just to prove that it's real. Okay, I haven't put it on there. This is real. There's a nice clip of it in negative, so you can really see the shape. And it seems like the arm actually has a little thing on the end of it. It's not completely straight. There's like a little hand or ball shaped thing on the end there, and you can really see the shape here. Okay. In fact, if I go in a bit closer, there seems to be something sticking out on the end here, just here. Interesting, right? Let's go back. It actually looks clearer when you go back a bit, but basically, there's a clip just there, and there's that. Colorized. This is actually just the raw clip with a color filter added, okay? Negative clip. There it is again. So I've got all these different clips of it. There it is. You can see it quite clearly. There's that top of that butte there, which is near the bottom of Mount Sharp. And there it is, just there. And even in this level of zoom, if you zoom in a bit closer, you can see the shape pretty well. It's a bit pixelated, but it's not too bad. There's that arm sticking up, right? So we've got all these clips. I'll put some of these clips in again at the end of the video for you, right? And what I've done on here, now this is the main sort of page for this. Mars Interceptor UFO 3. So it's the third time it's been spotted up close in 3 years. Now, that doesn't mean it's only come that close in three times in 3 years. It comes in regularly, about once or so a week, sometimes twice a week, but usually we don't get close images of it. It really depends on what time of day the rover is taking its images. But it tends to take a load in a short space of time, over the course of about half an hour. It would do a load of images with different cameras, right? But some of the cameras take sort of time-lapse images every 30 seconds or something like that. Like the Navcam does and the Hascam does as well. So, and they're left and right as well. So there's lots of images taken every day, and basically I think these are coming regularly, but we don't often see them this close. It just happened to be captured by the rover on this occasion, close enough to see. Usually it's just a speck in the distance. If you go through, like I have, I've been through tens or hundreds of thousands of these Navcam images, right, going right back, years and years, okay? And these things appear near the rover in Gale Crater regularly, but they're usually little specks and they're too far away. But occasionally, they come in close enough like this and we see them for what they are. These are drones or UFOs. They're complex in shape and they have aerial type arm things hanging down or sticking up like this one. Okay, so come and check this out. Follow the links below in the description. There'll be a link to this, and this will then link you to all these other things here. You can compare them. There's the Flying V UFO video, which I did a couple of versions of last year as well. This one, they're all linked up. Okay, so you can go to the video, and each video underneath will have a link to the Gigapan as well for each of these, right? As well as the raw images. You can get the raw images up here. If you go to the information, you go to the little NASA link there up in the top right, and that will take you to this page here where we have this image, and the same for all my Gigapans. You just follow the link at the top and it will take you to the NASA image page where it is on their archive. So this is all genuine, these are all time-stamped. This isn't just some random thing that someone sent in to me or some fake video that someone's done where they've thrown a wheel hub into the air and taken a photograph of it in their back garden. It's nothing like that. Okay, this is real. This stuff is genuine. It's all time-stamped and verified. NASA official images. They don't even check these properly, right? There's so many of these images every day. I really don't think they can be bothered to check them. This is why these things get through. People say, oh, it can't be real. They would never let these things, they would never put them on the website. Well, yeah, they do. They don't even check most of them. They really don't. There's so many of them, and they can't be bothered. They're too busy doing other stuff, right? Now, it doesn't mean they don't alter some of the images. I'm sure they do, especially with some of the colour ones. Of some of the weird things we see on the ground. I'm sure some of them have been blotted out a bit, or smudged out. But we've got the same one appearing once, twice, 3 times. There's the third one. Let's move that one out of the way. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. The same complex shaped object with an arm stroke aerial sticking out. This one sticks up, and in the other 2 it sticks down, right? What more evidence do you need of alien activity on Mars? Now, whether it's Martian or from somewhere else, I don't know. I don't think these are from Earth. We don't have the propulsion system to do this for long periods of time. We also have links down here on this Gigapan to some of my other older videos. This is a recent one, Mars, same UFO. The same UFO, exact shape, UFO was spotted in 2 different craters by 2 different rovers, one by the Spirit and one by the Curiosity, right? The same one, right? 2,300 kilometers apart. So when the Spirit rover died, which was years and years ago, this particular UFO, which is saucer-shaped, left that crater and came to Gale Crater, which is where we are today. This one was also spotted in Gale Crater, one of my favourites. This was spotted by Steve Bolden, very good researcher, often posts on my group, ArtAlienTV, Mars Magazine, right? And this, I think, may be an insect or possibly another drone, okay? And the video here is called UFO Seen on Mars, Bird, Insect or Drone, okay? And that went really viral. And it's had like 500,000 views or something like that. It's had a lot of views. And the interesting thing about this one is you can see the parts quite clearly. This is really small and it came in really close to the rover. So this is like an inch wide. So I think this is actually an insect, all right? Because you can see what looks like an abdomen here on the right with a kind of sting thing hanging down like a mosquito. Now, when you have low-res cameras like these, they're only like 1 or 2 megapixels, right? If something comes in close and is moving, and it has transparent wings like insects do, those wings ain't going to show. But there is distortion above this thing, so I think there are probably wings on this. But they're not going to show up, right? Because the resolution isn't there in the image. This thing came in really close to the rover, just for a few seconds, right up close, and then went off camera, right? I think it does show in another image as well, but it's tiny. And I think it's an insect. And there are some I've shown that look like birds as well. I've got a whole bunch of them up here, actually. I'll flick through a couple of these now. I won't go through all these now because I've done like over 100 UFO videos on Mars so far, around about 90 or 100. And there's loads of these things, and there's even massive things like this on the ground, which look like saucers. And this thing's got a big sort of like scar on the landscape where it's skidded along and ended up here. Right, this thing's massive, 420 feet across, and it looks metallic as well. One of my favourites is the Rod UFO. This one is a recent find. I found this year. No, sorry, last year, May 24th. Yeah, and there's just a rod. Okay, now this is right near that butte where this one today was spotted. Right, but this is much lower down, it seems. And this is one of the one of the large buttes along the bottom of Mount Sharp. There's a whole bunch of them, right? So this isn't very far away from the one I just showed you today. I'll zoom in. There it is. It's just the rod. And we often see these coming in really close, and they change from black to white and white to black. So when they're going in one direction, they appear black, and when they go the other way, they appear white. This is a noted. And I've shown that before with some of these things. There was like other rods as well. This is another rod, and this one's got like little tiny ball drones coming out the end of it, right? This one's in dark mode. Same area, right? It's in dark mode. This is a negative here in white. Okay? So there's rod-shaped ones, there's complex-shaped ones, there's saucer-shaped ones, there's giant disc-like things on the ground which are hundreds of feet across. Absolutely insane. And there's even some that look just like birds. Like this one. This one's from 2446. This is from years ago, right? Years ago. Marcelo Irazusta found this one, not me. So I often show stuff that other people have found as well. I keep a record of it because they often find things that I don't, and they're all important finds. Other people's are just as important as mine. And I always give them credit for what they found and put their name on stuff just to make sure, for the record, that people know who's found what. Because we don't get paid for this job. We do it for nothing, right? But this one really does look like a hawk. Now, is it a drone or is it an actual bird? I have found bird remains on the ground, which I've shown before. Here's another Rod UFO one from years ago. it appears twice in a set of images. Once white, the bottom one here, in light mode, and in dark mode in the top one. Right? Less than a second apart, so it's flashing black and white. This came in close. This thing's only about a foot or so long, right? And it came in really close to the rover. This is the ground. Now, this was taken by the Hazcam. Now, the Hazcam is right below, underneath the rover, looking across the ground. That's why you're seeing the sky and the horizon all bent like this, because it's like a fisheye lens. The Hazcam is really there to spot large boulders so that the rover doesn't drive into them, right? Crash into them. But occasionally they come in really low to the ground, like literally like a foot off the ground, and buzz past really low. And the darker one has got better detail because it's slightly closer. And there's the light one there. So who knows, maybe there were two, but very strange indeed, right? So there's lots of weird stuff going on in Gale Crater. And I've been spotting these right from the start when the rover landed. We started seeing things up in the sky. Now, there are glitches on some of the cameras on that show up in every image. And when you flick through, you'll see what those are. You'll see the same thing appearing in some of the images. But you can clearly see that some of these things are not glitches, right? Or lens flares, like this one, right? The flying V drone. I did a whole bunch of videos on this. I mean, this is probably the best one ever. Look at the wings on this thing. We have saucer shaped, we have rod shaped, we have disc shaped, we have complex shapes with aerials hanging down like today. We have all sorts, right? A lot of them are just blobs. They appear as blobs of light. Some of them you can see, there's a couple here, but this one looks like the flying V drone again, but much further away. This is what you normally see with these images. Normally they're too far, and you just see like a little speck. Looks a bit like a boomerang. I think this is the V drone, but much further away. And there's another one. It seems to be dogfighting or chasing or something just here, but way too far off. I don't even usually bother showing these because they're not clear enough, but they are there. And this shows that they're there almost all the time, but they're too far away, right? But occasionally, like today, you get a close-up with good enough detail to actually pinpoint it and compare it precisely with others in the area. Now, this proves beyond a reasonable doubt that these are actually real, and this is completely kosher research, okay? Everything's linked. Follow the links in the description, like I said. Thanks for watching, everybody. Clips coming up in a second. Check out my website, ArtAlienTV. There'll be a link to that below. Also, check out my Mars Magazine page on Facebook group. You're getting on for 12,000 members now. It's really cool, so check that out. There's links to all that stuff. Check me out on Twitter, @ArtAlienTV also. I often post stuff on there. So thanks for watching. This was a complex one, but it's not the sort of thing you can explain in 5 minutes. This is detailed stuff. And what we're getting now with these, which you won't see on any other channel, Mars channel or anything, is real close detail on some crazy looking UFOs on Mars. And check out the link at the top here. This is my playlist link. This will take you to my Mars UFOs playlist. And there's loads more, right? Going right back to when I started years and years ago, okay? Doing this. I've been a ufologist for a very long time, since the 1970s. And I've got huge archives, not just of Mars stuff like this, but of stuff on Earth going back hundreds of years, and even stuff in artwork that goes back thousands of years, right? Okay? So, they're on Earth as well as on Mars. The question is, are these alien or are these Martian? We don't know. But I suspect that Gale Crater, where this was taken, is still inhabited. And there are people living underground, in an underground system that goes right up into the mountain, and there's probably fresh water under there which percolates through. There's probably an aquifer under the mountain which they survive from. Who knows? But we've had doorways leading down into the mountain, quite small. They look like burial chamber entrances, perhaps. Which look like ventilation shafts and stuff like that. And we often see things sticking up out of the ground which may also be something to do with ventilation. I think they're living underground and they're in the mountain. They're not on it, they're in it. They used to live on it, but when the atmosphere changed, they had to move underground and into it. Right? So I think a lot of these buttes that I've shown before here, they've got windows and doors and stuff like that, like skylights and stuff. And I'm pretty sure there's life still in Gale Crater, and they may be flying these things remotely, I don't know. But this proves that there's life on Mars, but it may not be Martian, and it's probably not ours. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.